Welcome to another episode of Talking Shop. I have my good friend Kevin Mahoney here, who is down in Florida, right? You're social distancing with family?
Yes, we came down here in mid-March, pretty early on. My wife is from here, so we are with extended family and very fortunate for the situation that we're in.
So Kevin's originally from the DC area, but is a
Yeah, and
wanderer.
still based in DC, just not at the
Right.
moment.
Right. And well, and your family's a wanderer. You spent some time down in Australia for a while. You
Right.
have you have a 100% virtual practice, which is real cool and allows you to do that. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to
exactly.
plug your unique way of doing things because again, this is for advisors, and I think coming out of this, we may see advisors looking at, well, maybe I can move to virtual only, and Kevin is doing it and doing it well. So
And it's
you're in
worth
your normal.
noting, it's the group I work with too, right? The people
Mhm.
I work with are 25 to 40, so an all virtual company is not a big deal to them and doesn't require much explanation. So I think there's a good alignment between what I was looking for and what they need and prefer too.
Right. So how is everything going? I mean, obviously, I know family's doing well, but how are things with your clients? What are you seeing from them right now?
Clients are doing okay. I think there are a lot of similarities to everyone, which is trying to understand the uncertainty and plan to the extent possible for the months ahead. I think the biggest difference with my clients compared to what a lot of other advisors might see is that we talk about making plans for buying a house, or a lot of those big goals that come up when you're you know newly married or about to have kids, and we're still making those plans, but a lot of them are on hold.
Hmm.
And so it's all right, like, this is what we'd like to do in the fall, but we need to see what the summer and the fall actually look like before we can start to implement some of those. So it's much more of a plan and then wait and see approach than it usually is.
Are you getting a lot of questions from your clients around the markets? You know, as advisors, we end up talking about investments more than we probably should, but that's where a lot of client focus is. You mentioned clients focused on buying a home and other things that are other areas of the financial plan. But with your younger investors, this is probably their first real experience with a lot of volatility and a gut wrenching drop. How are they handling that part of things?
Pretty well. I think most of these people understand that they're investing for the long term, and so most of them will have 401ks, and they understand that's not money they need to touch anytime soon. I think the most unique thing that I've dealt with in this context is that a lot of I found, and this was kind of surprising, once the company got started and really got going, is that a lot of the people who reached out to me had a decent amount saved that they want to
Hmm.
invest. And the main questions that they come to me for are, how much do we invest compared to some of the other trade-offs that we're facing
Hmm.
in terms of a down payment, paying off student loans, things like that. And then, for the money we do want to invest, where do we put it? What does the timing look like for that? And so that's where the big question has been in the past couple of weeks, where it's, we have this money that we had planned on investing this spring or this summer.
Hmm.
Should we still do that? Should we put it anywhere different than we otherwise would have? What has changed in those circumstances that we should consider right now?
That's that's what I would have expected. So I'm glad to hear what I was expecting was what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice not to get the panicky phone calls
Mhm.
where people are saying, "Hey, I just sold like half of my Vanguard account. Like, what do I do now?" I
Right.
haven't dealt with any of that.
Well, and hopefully you won't. I feel like uh,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a weird. We're at a weird point. I'm an eternal optimist. I know we're going to come out of this, but I almost don't trust the level of comfort and optimism I'm seeing out there with other people. I feel like we're not out of the woods yet, but when you look at people's behaviors and what they're talking about and the excitement to get back to normalcy, which I'm excited to get back to normalcy as well, but like we're talking about states opening up pretty soon, and I'm not sure if it's time to do that or not. And then you look at the market being up with unemployment at 26 million people that have filed for unemployment now. Like there's so much disconnect and there's so much optimism when I would expect to see more pessimism. I don't know what to make of it. Luckily, it's not my job to figure out what to make of it, but I just feel like we're at a weird point where I would expect people to be more pessimistic than we are right now. and I don't know what that means for the next 6 months.
And that's been an interesting change only in the past couple of weeks too, because
Totally.
I remember I was initially having some conversations where it was like, all right, the market's down 20%, pick your number. Now is probably a good time to invest if you had some savings that you had planned on putting in anyway. But we may be getting to a point or have reached a point where for people who are truly concerned, like from a psychological standpoint, if nothing else, that they don't want to put their money in and then see the market fall significantly again. There's decent evidence, from health experts that we could face another big downturn in the fall or at some point later this year. So that's kind of a new element to the conversation that we weren't necessarily having when this all started.
Which is why I think that when we go back to the planning we do and the fact that it is long term, like a lot of the decisions we need to make aren't based off of what's going on today. And yeah, we may have the situation that you talked about, people having money, wanting to put it to work. We can only have a conversation about, yes, from the highs, it's down this much. It's rebounded some. It could go back down. It could back up. But the reason we're investing this is still long term. So I always just kind of joke about it. Like whatever decision you make, you decide to put the money in, like the next 2 days, it's going to dump. Or you don't put the money in, then it's going to go down. Like whatever you want to have happen is not going to happen. It's going to be the opposite. So just mentally prepare for that. And then remember that we would not be doing this with any money that you need in the short term. So it's okay. It'll be frustrating. But at the end of the day, you won't remember when we put it in when time goes by. So
and the reality for so many millennials anyway is that they have to catch up for retirement as it is. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these investments are IRAs or longer term investments anyway. So we don't have to have too much of that conversation, but it's still the psychological aspect where I want them to know that if the market does, collapse again at some point soon, that they don't need to panic. They don't need to stress out. They're in a good place.
Right. Before we get to your tip, I do want to shine some light on an effort that you are spearheading that I respect and embarrassingly admit that I have not partaken in myself. But you have put out some pro bono hours and encouraged other advisors and actually have gotten some momentum behind it.
Never too late, Jeff.
I know. Yeah, I don't have a good excuse other than I don't have the time, which saying you don't have time is just an excuse, and I know that. But I don't want to let my failure to contribute to your cause in the moment take away from it. So you've been opening up some pro bono. You've done this in the past, but this time around, you've kind of gotten on the radar of some of the big guys in the profession. Carl Richards, Michael Kitces, they've both highlighted the work that you're doing and promoted it as well. Just real quick, kind of, what is it that you're doing? How are you helping, and how are you encouraging other advisors to kind of go out and do some pro bono work?
Yeah, the idea is not too complicated. I don't view it as revolutionary, but for all of us, we reach a point in our businesses, especially if we're solo advisors, where we can only help so many people one-on-one. And I really value, and this is related to, the tip that I'll probably give in this situation, is that I really value trying to find situations where I can help larger numbers of people or reach out to people who wouldn't necessarily engage an advisor in the first place for any number of different reasons. And then on top of that, we're all looking at headlines and thinking about the situation every day where, people are losing income, losing jobs, and having a really difficult time. I just personally want to use some of that knowledge and skills that I've developed to help those people who really need help. I hold all my client meetings at night. Again, it's all virtual, and that schedule works well for the people that I help. So it's really just a matter of freeing up some time during the day that I would otherwise be spending on different business activities, and giving people the opportunity, who have some basic questions, to reach out to me and have a conversation for half an hour. It doesn't take much. It's not something that's super time intensive in terms of like research and using technology to analyze things. It's answering questions that a lot of people don't know where to start or don't know how to handle a really stressful time like this.
How have those calls gone so far? Has it been pretty rewarding?
Yeah, I think if nothing else, people really value the opportunity to just talk to someone. We don't have a very strong culture in the U.S. of having financial conversations, and so most people out there, don't talk about this perhaps with anyone other than their spouse, if that, in some cases. So I think a lot of people are just grateful to be able to voice their concerns and voice some of the stress they have. And then a lot of them don't know where to start with resources, or aren't familiar with some of the basic strategies that they could use when they're faced with a loss in income. Even just keeping up to date on some of the changes in government policy or changes in relief that different companies and organizations are offering. That's hard enough for us to keep up with, let alone someone who doesn't work in finance and has kids at home. So they're often pretty straightforward conversations on the advisor side, but people still get a lot of value out of it.
So for any advisor that wants to do this, I mean, you've done this on your own, you've encouraged people to join, but what's a good way to put it out there that, hey, I'm an advisor, this is what I do, I'm opening my calendar up, maybe an hour every day for 2 30-minute appointments to answer your questions. What's the best way to spread the word that you found?
Sure. So some advisors could just essentially do it on their own and use their existing channels to post their calendar or just post about this opportunity that's available to people. If advisors are a member of the XY Planning Network, XY has created an opt-in feature for their Find an Advisor portal where consumers who go to that website can select pro bono help, and a list of advisors will pop up. And I think at this point, most of the major organizations in our profession, like NAPFA, have organized different ways for advisors to find people and vice versa. So if you're a member of any of those organizations, I think there are ways to get involved there too.
Okay, sounds good. All right, in closing, before I go to close, I want to make sure I point out to everybody, they've probably noticed it, but you have had the best background of anybody that I've had on Talking Shop. And for those that don't know, that don't follow Kevin, I've known Kevin for a while. This background is 100% on brand for him. And I appreciate branding and sticking to your brand. If you go to his Instagram, like he finds these real cool backdrops to do his videos. So when we hopped on Squadcast real quick, I thought he was back home again and like he's got his spot. So perfect job on staying on brand. Thank you for bringing some color to my video stream.
Yeah, you shouldn't have expected anything less. When I saw this on my calendar, I was like, it's not going to suffice for me to just be in my bedroom and have Justin looking at a blank wall. No, so this was the best I could do given the circumstances.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the effort. So in closing, what's one tip that you would offer up to other advisors that has helped you navigate what we're going through right now, or that you just know from experience working virtually? So maybe this is more of you've been doing it for a while, and here's something that's worked for you that would work for other advisors as we finish out this working from home time.
Yeah, it's actually something I'm working on right now and will continue to be an ongoing thing. And it's what I alluded to at the start of the pro bono conversation, which is we have these skills and this knowledge that can benefit so many people. And, certainly our main focus is on building our firm so that we can help, the clients that we already have, or help clients who fit what we're doing, find us and get the help that they need. But there are so many different opportunities for advisors to use those skills to engage with different groups and different types of people who might not know that what we're doing is out there. Mm-hmm. And so it's speaking, it's doing podcasts, it's trying to partner with local businesses to do seminars. Like each advisor has different preferences for the type of activities like that they like to do. So I would certainly encourage people to make sure that it's a fit with, what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. But, I encourage people, especially at this time when so many people need help, to think outside of just the individual client focus that we usually concentrate on, and find creative ways to reach other people and spread your message and try to give them some tips that they, don't otherwise know.
And the byproduct of doing all that, I'm convinced, is when you do those types of things for the right reasons, genuinely, like goodwill comes back around. Tyrone Ross always says karma's undefeated when he's talking about like people on the negative side. Like karma always remembers and comes back, but I think it works on the positive side as well. So I think through all your efforts to spread financial literacy and help the people who need to help it, good things will come down the road for business. And I know that's not why you're doing it, which is why that will be the long-term benefit of it. I think when you go into it saying, hey, I'm going to make it look like I'm helping people because I want people to think I'm a good person and that'll get me business, I don't think it works out. I think you have to go into it all in to say, hey, I'm doing this because I have a skill that can help people and I want to do it to help people. And I think good things come from that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the revenue side, because there are ways to diversify your income streams too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just not reliant on what your clients are actually paying you, but maybe it's a sponsorship for a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe some local company is paying you to come in and meet with their employees and talk to their employees. It can just be different ways to have income coming in, which I think we all appreciate right now is an important thing when income suddenly disappears unexpectedly when things like this come up.
Right. All right, man. Hey, we went a lot longer than I thought. We just had so much good stuff to keep going. I didn't want to cut you off. So I know that you are out supporting local businesses with you and your wife. So I'll let you get back to grocery shopping and the things that you're doing. But I appreciate you taking the time, Kevin, to come on. Also appreciate the efforts that you're doing to move our profession forward. If you guys don't know Kevin, just keep an eye on him, and you'll see him rising up in our profession as a leader. So I'm going to really love coming back to this video and replaying that clip in like 4 or 5 years, or maybe even sooner, when you are that leader that I know you're going to be, and say, like, I told you to watch Kevin, this is what's going to happen. So thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you all in the next episode.
Thanks for having me. Good to talk to you, Justin.